Thanks for that, Lee. Well, it's another weekend of exciting sporting action and it's upon us. And as we normally do on a Friday, we've roped in News24 Senior Sport Reporter and Sport Commentator as well, Khanyiso Tshwaku. He's going to preview some of the clashes that we can expect this morning. Khanyiso, thanks so much for joining us. There is so much to look forward to. I think let's start with the cricket news. The Proteas, obviously, they have a 2 out of 2. That match against Afghanistan not going exactly the way everyone thought it was going to be, down to the wire. I was looking at some of Dale Stein's comments there, in terms of how palpable the excitement was. Then we've got New Zealand up next, and I don't think that's going to be a cakewalk at all. So what do you think we need to be changing and improving, especially when you look at our performances thus far?
Good morning, Stacey, and good morning to the viewers. Look, South Africa played as well as they could. That last over from Khanyiso Tshwaku was an unmitigated disaster, but those are the kind of things that happen in sport, that happen in cricket. We've seen bowlers, very good bowlers, just lose their bottle in that final over, bowling 2 no balls on the wide. South Africa batted well at the top. That particular game, then lost the plot, especially after the 13th over where spin started to take effect in the game. So it's going to be interesting to see, firstly, what kind of pitch they play on at the Narendra Modi Stadium. It is South Africa's 3rd consecutive game at the ground. However, the conditions will be markedly different in that it's a night game. Remember that the game that they played in against Afghanistan was a morning to afternoon game where the sun baked the surface. It dried out a fair bit. It started taking turn. Dew's going to be a very big effect, but I think the key part is the fitness of George Linder. Remember, he limped off with what looked like a knee injury. So his fitness will be key in terms of what the team will look like and how South Africa will play tomorrow in Ahmedabad.
Yes, so that game will start at 3:30 South African time. Then our next match after that will be Wednesday. So in the week, they will take on the United Arab Emirates. Okay, so let's move on to some local football news. What is going on with Durban City Ernst Middendorp? He's denied scheming behind the scenes to grab Durban City's vacant coaching role. Obviously, we know that there was so much in terms of Gavin Hunt moving, the replacements in Atemba Badela then being dismissed after just 3 games in charge, and in fact, great results there as well. So what's your take on what's going on at Durban City, and perhaps also then speak to this deal that they signed with the Zimbabwean side as well?
Look, I think with Durban City and the owner in particular, Farouk Kadodia, he's got a very good working relationship with Ernst Middendorp. And I think the first mistake was the deployment of Ernst Middendorp as a technical director with Gavin Hunt as coach. That was a football marriage that was never going to work. I think the easiest thing that Kadodia could have done was to hire Middendorp as coach from the get-go, see what he can get out of him and see what the season progresses. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and now there are 2 coaches down. Look, and the thing is, the results haven't been bad at Durban City. So I found it very weird that the coaches have not been able to step. It is very clear that there is a particular brand of football that Kadodia wants the team to play, and clearly they couldn't find that kind of football with Hunt and Patel. And I suspect that the working relationship between Middendorp and the 2 coaches was never going to be the easiest.
Yeah, Khanyiso, let's stay with football, but let's look at continental football. Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns have crucial clashes coming up. What do you expect and what do you make of what's going to occur over the weekend?
Look, all eyes most probably are at Loftus tomorrow. Sundowns are caught in significant controversy right now regarding the Spygate issue with the video analyst Mario Masha, who's currently suspended at the moment. Miguel Cardoso made it very clear how we felt about footage being leaked out to MC Alger, or alleging that footage has been leaked to MC Alger, number 1. It is the return of Rulani Mokoena to Sundowns, where he coached for many years. And they've got their press conferences today. I think Miguel is up at 1, Rulani is up at 2. What's going to be said in those press conferences is going to be very, very important and very telling. But for Sundowns, it's straightforward. They need to win. They've got nothing else to do but to win. If they don't win, they don't go through. It's straightforward. For Kaizer Chiefs, they've found themselves in a spot of bother in that they have to not play in Cairo but in Suez. Zamalek have made it very clear to them that if they want to progress to the next stage of the CAF Confederations Cup, that being the quarterfinals, they're going to have to work harder than they've worked at any point in the group stages. So Chiefs at least have their fate in their own hands. So does Sundowns. But I think it's a bit harder for Sundowns because of the fact that they need to win and nothing else. And their form, especially in the last month and a bit, has not been very good.
So just a reminder to our viewers there, just to give you the times of the fixtures there, that Zamalek game is at 6 o'clock, and then the Mamelodi Sundowns game against MC Alger, Rulani Mokwena's team there, is going to be at 3 o'clock. Okay, so we have, I think, just under 2 minutes left. Do we want to go with Italy obviously taking on Ireland, or should we talk about what's happening in the EPL log? Khanyiso, what do you think is more important?
Look, I mean, if you look at both, if you look at both, Italy Ireland is also a big game. I mean, remember that with the Nations Championship that will be taking place over the July and the November periods, it becomes important to keep an eye on what transpires in the Six Nations. If you look at how well England played in the Wales game, therefore how they play through the tournament is going to be very important, especially with how Rassie Erasmus tracks England's form. Remember that's South Africa's first Test match opponents on the 4th of July at Ellis Park. With the EPL log in particular, look, I mean, Unas Botha once said that the Currie Cup is not won in July or August. And I think there were a lot of Arsenal fans who would have thought that Arsenal's early season form may put them in a very good position to put other teams under pressure. However, though, they're not looking shaky per se, but we're reaching the point where February, March, where league chases either made or broken. And remember that Man City and Arsenal still need to meet on the 12th of April. I suspect that 12th of April can't come any sooner now, especially with the form that the two teams are displaying.
Yeah, awesome. Great chatting to you. Thanks so much. I think it's very interesting what's happening there. In fact, what's probably more interesting is happening at the bottom of the log. Tottenham slump. They have been the worst performing team in 2026, having failed to win any of their 8 matches since the turn of the year. Anyway, we've been chatting to sports commentator and analyst Khanyiso Tshwaku, just giving us some insights and previews into the weekend sporting action.